If the Earth's actual axis changes, which is connected to massive pole shifting, you're talking cataclysm. I mean, you know, you're talking biblical Armageddon type stuff.
This is Nancy Leader on the Zeta Report. The Zeta state that the pole shift happens within an hour, forcing the Earth's crust to move 90 degrees. This causes hurricane-force winds worldwide and immense sloshing of the oceans. The general guideline is to be 100 miles in from the coastline and 200 feet above sea level. The Zetas have given hundreds of advisements about locations worldwide.
Behold, the Lord maketh the earth empty, maketh it waste, and turneth it upside down, and scattereth abroad the inhabitants thereof. Man, I found this thing in the Bible, and it sure sounds like Nibiru and 2012 and everything else. Earth turning upside down? Bible. Man, if it's in the Bible, it's gotta be true.
Are you ready for the Dancing of the Poles in 2012? Do you know what's going to happen or why it's going to happen? They say that a little knowledge is a dangerous thing, and there appears to be plenty of people on YouTube with just a little knowledge. This video is intended to give you a not too in-depth, but hopefully factual look at the issues involved. As always, I urge you to verify everything I state for yourselves. First of all, I shall not be discussing Nibiru or Planet X. Anyone who is still placing any credence in the loons who perpetuate this invented threat, please see your medical practitioner and suggest that you need an increase in dosage. I will say that any sudden pole shift of any magnitude would be completely catastrophic. Forget running to the hills or burrowing underground. The world as we know it would end. Just imagine some gigantic being grabbing hold of the earth and giving it a good shake. It would be a disaster even a genocidal god would be proud of. But there is absolutely no sign, rhyme or reason whatsoever to think that it's going to happen in any timescale that matters to us. So let us start by looking at the Earth. What is going on beneath our feet, and how do we know? Well, luckily, as well as science fiction writers, conspiracy theorists, ufologists, religious nuts, astral planers, and mystics, we have scientists. And unlike the aforementioned, scientists deal with research, facts, the scientific method, and shit. So let us begin. What is the Earth made of? Well, science can tell us directly what the surface of the Earth is made of by analysis of surface material. And materials that were once subterranean but are now on the surface due to tectonic and volcanic action provide further direct evidence, as does drilling and mine work. But all of this still only covers the Earth's crust. If you think of the Earth as an apple, then the Earth's crust would be the apple peel. So how do we know what is below the crust and forms the bulk of the Earth? Well, we have some direct evidence of what is there, and some indirect evidence. The direct evidence comes from seismology and orbital mechanics. The propagation of seismic waves through the Earth provides solid evidence for the density of Earth's structure at any given position and depth. The mass of the Earth can be accurately calculated based on gravitational interactions with other solar system bodies. Indirect evidence comes from other objects in the solar system. The objects within the solar system all formed at roughly the same time. Spectral analysis of the Sun reveals the same chemical fingerprints as that of the Moon and meteorites that have reached Earth. And this provides a high level of confidence as to what the inside of the Earth looks like. Seismology indicates a liquid core with a solid inner core. The gravitational mass indicates that the core is much more dense than the crust. And this is in tune with the idea that during its very early molten phase, heavier elements would have gravitated towards the centre of the mass of the Earth. So the current model is that the inner core is a solid structure, primarily of iron nickel, with a radius of 1200 kilometres. The outer core is then a 2300 kilometre thick layer of molten iron and nickel, with a viscosity about 10 times that of liquid metal as we experience it on the surface of the planet. The outer core lies 3,000 kilometres below the Earth's surface. Above the outer core we have the mantle. This is about 3,000 kilometres thick and ranges from quite solid rock through to plastic flowing rock. And above the mantle we have the Earth's crust. The oceanic crust is 5 to 10 kilometres thick, whilst the continental crust is 30 to 50 kilometres thick. The crust comprises a number of tectonic plates which float on the mantle. Although to be accurate, the crust plus the top layer of the mantle is known as the lithosphere, but I want to keep this simple. And there we have a simple description of the Earth. It's far from being a solid body, but is more like a ball filled with material of varying viscosity, affected by internal convection currents which constantly churn its innards, and with a thin crust of plates which move around, crashing into each other, are being pulled beneath the surface or thrust into the air. At places, the liquid centre bursts through the crust, and in places new crust is formed by the constant ejection of mantle material. But the Earth is not a stationary object. Let us look at how the Earth moves and why it moves. First and most obviously to us now, the Earth orbits the Sun. How would you prove that to a primitive tribesman in remote Papua New Guinea, or a Christian? Show them how the movements of the celestial bodies are best explained by a heliocentric solar system. And of course you'd be telling them a lie, because the Earth does not orbit the Sun, though I shall now continue to say it does, as we will all know what that really means. Nothing exists in isolation, and our Sun and Earth are no exception. If we simply consider the Sun-Earth system, then we must remember that they both orbit the centre of mass of that system. It just so happens that the Earth is so piddlingly small in comparison to the Sun that the system's barycenter is close to the centre of the Sun. And of course, we have a whole solar system to consider. Now the Sun comprises 99.86% of the total mass of the solar system, and Jupiter accounts for approximately 70% of what's left, or, to put it another way, 2.5 times the mass of all the other planets and bodies combined. Little Earth is just 1/300th of Jupiter's mass. Anyway, the point here is that just as the Sun-Earth system has a barycenter, the Sun also has a barycenter with all other objects which orbit it. Jupiter has by far the largest gravitic effect on the Sun, and the Sun-Jupiter barycenter is outside the body of the Sun. This causes the Sun to wobble as Jupiter orbits it. This wobble effect is used by astronomers to locate planets orbiting other stars, find a wobbly star, and decide if the wobble is caused by an orbiting planet. And everything in the solar system has a little tug on the Sun as well, to a greater or lesser extent. We cannot therefore think of the solar system as an orrery of objects all at fixed distances from each other in a perpetual and well-choreographed dance. Rather, all of the objects interact with each other, and they all wander through space as though slightly inebriated. Because of this, the gravitational forces exerted on the Earth by all the bodies in the solar system are constantly changing, and this results in many cyclic variations in the Earth's orbital eccentricity. And cyclic they are. It's inane to say that any of the cycles have a start or end point. They are continuous, i.e. cyclic. And we are yet to mention the Moon. The Earth and Moon are another two-bodied system, and they orbit a barycenter located about 1,700 kilometers below the Earth's surface. And so the Earth-Moon system dances a drunken waltz as it orbits the common barycenter with the Sun, as the Sun orbits its barycenter with Jupiter, and wobbles flirtingly with all the other planets. Now the Earth rotates on its axis once a day, or 365 times a year, as it orbits the Sun, constantly altering the gravitic effect that the Sun has on its surface. Earth precesses on its axis with a period of about 26,000 years, due to the Sun's unequal pull on the non-spherical Earth, and the Earth's axis is tilted at about 23.4 degrees, which again alters, as it spins, how it interacts with the Sun. The Moon, being so much closer to the Earth than the Sun, has a much greater gravitic tidal effect on the Earth. As the Moon orbits the Earth roughly every 27.3 days sidereal, or 29.5 days synodic, its distance from the Earth varies by about 11%. And so its gravitic tugging on the Earth continually changes, both in strength and location. Whilst this tugging is most evident in the ocean tides, the tidal forces also affect the physical Earth itself. The Moon's orbit is about 5 degrees off the ecliptic, and so the way its gravity adds and subtracts from the Sun is continually changing. And of course anything which alters the distribution of mass within the Earth itself also affects the spin and orbit of the planet. This includes the movement of water in the oceans due to the tides, the changes in air pressure in the atmosphere, the subterranean movements of mass due to thermal currents in the liquid core and molten rock of the mantle, the seismic shocks of earthquakes propagating through the Earth, changing ice sheets, isostatic rebound, hurricanes and meteorological events such as El Niño alter the spin of the Earth in a measurable way. Each and all these things can and do cause the Earth to move slightly on its axis. There are certain periodic wobbles that have been determined and can be calculated to an incredible degree of accuracy, but there are others, influenced by the tides and weather for instance, that cannot be forecast with any degree of accuracy beyond a few weeks or months. And all of these forces have been in play for millions of years, and have resulted in the poles wandering at different periods in Earth's history. Over the past 200 million years, the poles have wandered approximately 30 degrees, with a characteristic rate of 1 degree or less every million years. There are some hypotheses of more rapid movements at different times in Earth's history, but there is a clear consensus that not much has happened since the dinosaurs were strutting their stuff. Of course, anything is possible, and it is a fact that a sudden pole shift would be a catastrophic event. But so would a donkey falling on your head on the way to the bus stop. And I doubt that you spend too much time worrying about that. So anything you have heard or read on the World Wide Web concerning imminent pole shifts is pure fabrication and nonsense. It is also nothing new. No conspiracy theory ever is. And I will deal with that in another video. I also plan to look at the magnetic poles, which I find a much more attractive proposition. So until next time, thanks for watching, and watch out for those donkeys.
Behind your prayers, what do you